Hello, Michael.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
It's Kathy, but welcome.
I'm sorry, Kathy. I'm sorry.
No
Excuse me.
worries. No worries. Susan's usually in charge, so I get it.
I heard your voice and I blanked on Susan's
No worries.
window there.
So, I haven't heard from Mr. Seabrooks.
We just exchanged emails, so I assume he'll be jumping on.
Very good. Thank you.
And Chris, you have a new job. Congrats, man.
Thank you. I've come back around full circle to where it all began, which is on the DC Charter School Board meeting.
Well, good. Oh, good.
So be careful what you ask for, Angela, Michael, and Cassandra. If you're really good, we're going to hire you.
I'm okay for now. I just signed a 5-year contract, so
Okay. We will not compete.
thank you. Don't make it hard for me don't make it easy for me.
Hey, everybody, how you doing? Sorry, I'm running a little late. Had some technical issues I'm dealing with.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Seabrooks. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. It's been a while.
Yeah, and I hope you had a nice vacations and some good travel.
Definitely, definitely. And you?
Fantastic. It's been a productive and restful summer at the same time.
Excellent. Who are we waiting on? Let's see.
Let me check on Brian.
Everybody's staying cool, I'm hoping.
Yes, sir.
Best we can.
Right.
Crystal, I think you're just waiting for Yolanda, right? As far as board members.
Yeah, that looks right.
And I think, but you do have a quorum with 5, so you're good to go when you're ready.
Yes, I believe so.
Excellent. Then we will get started. It is Monday, August 8th at 6:05. And we are starting our Children's Guild DC Public Charter School meeting now. Start with technical issues. Good evening, everybody. Glad to have a quorum on time today. It's something we've been struggling with the last couple of meetings. We weren't able to get our emergency meeting in because of that issue. So hopefully we'll take care of some of those issues immediately. So we can get those out of the way as far as voting. And I still can't pull up my agenda. I don't know what's going on here. But yes, I guess the first order of business is to approve the minutes from last meeting. So if everyone's had a chance to review that, I'd like to get a motion regarding that. Gosh, what is that?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the previous meeting, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the board meeting minutes from the previous meeting have been approved. And so we can correctly file those. I cannot pull up my agenda. I'm sorry for
We'll
this.
post it for you, Mr. Seabrooks.
I'm sorry.
We'll post it in the chat to make it
Okay.
easier.
Yes, thank you. The next order of business Unfortunately. Let me see here. She posted it in the chat.
We're going to welcome Miss, or is it Dr. Blassingame?
Yes.
Yes.
She's not here, is she? No. Oh, yes, she is. Okay, there you are. Hey, Cassandra.
Hello,
How
Rob.
are you?
Good. How are you?
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yes, let me introduce Miss Blassingame to the board. Somebody that I have known for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now. And I know that she will be a tremendous asset to the board based on her history and the things that she's been involved with. So without further ado, I'll let Cassandra go ahead and introduce herself.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the invitation and bringing me on board. My name's Cassandra Blassingame. Soon to be Dr. Kathy. I'm working on it. I'm leaving for St. Louis tomorrow and or Wednesday to update chapters 1 and 2. So I'm on my way. So I am originally from the Chicago area. Thank you, Dr. Dackman. Originally from the Chicago area. Went off to school in Alabama, never went back, ended up in St. Louis for about 14 years. And then I relocated to the DC area back in 2006. I've spent 22 years or so in higher education, mostly in the continuing education, serving adults mostly. I tried my hand at K through 12 and my hat's off. That's all I have to say. I couldn't even do it for free tuition for my kids' Christian school education. I said I'd pay. But it's, I had a great time. I knew the kids, they didn't give me a hard time, but I just thought, wow, this is why I do the other thing. I'll work with the parents. But I have enjoyed my career in higher ed. Again, I started in continuing ed and I've worked for community colleges, HBCUs, private and public, larger institutions like I've been a part of the UM system and a part of the University of Virginia system, and some proprietary schools, which I wasn't a big fan of. So I left there and I ended up in the association trade space for about 4 years and just kind of took a step back from education in the public sector anyway, but started working on the association stuff and got involved with the International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training as a reviewer for organizations that were seeking the continuing education and training accreditation. So we work with training organizations across industries, anyone that has to maintain a license, be they teachers, people in finance, healthcare, utility, engineering, you name it. We accredit those training programs so that people are able to find the value in the accreditation, not necessarily in earning CEUs, but those are kind of an end result of what it is that we do. So I started as a reviewer, came on to serve on various committees. They recruited me for the board, and then guess what, Kathy? I got hired. That's happened to me twice. I'm not going for a third time, I promise. I'm good now. And so I'm the president and CEO of a staff managed accrediting body. We were under an association management company, but newly staff managed over the last 3 or 4 years. So the last 3 years have been great, having a good time, and we're preparing for our conference next month and just got a lot going on, but happy to be here, happy to do what I can to support our future leaders and learners coming from K through 12. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to contributing.
Thank you, Cassandra. My ears perked up when I heard you talk about being on a committee, because we certainly would love to have you on various committees, at least 1 or 2, in whatever way you see fits your talents. All right, I finally got my technical issues resolved, and we are now on to bullet 4, where we have our financial report from Mr. Gordon. So if you could, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Seabrooks. Good evening, everyone. You should have received a packet via email at the invitation. In it are the 3 documents we've been looking at together for the past, I don't know, year and a half together. And what we're looking at are draft June financials. So the year-end numbers, they are subject to change. They need to be audited, but they're pretty close, and they are close enough for us to have this in-depth conversation. And so I'll just start by reviewing some of the revenue and expenditures trend sheet, the first sheet in the financials. And I will tell you, we're 108,000 ahead of budget, but they're 2.1 million behind last year to date. That's just operating revenues. If you combine the net grant revenues, which were sought and received in order to cover operating expenses during a very challenging year, we're $184,000 ahead of budget for revenue and only 1.1 million behind last year to date. Our 2022 budget was 280 enrolled. As of count date, we had 215 enrollees, and hence the difference in last year versus this year. Our personnel costs are $99,000 below budget and $466,000 below last year to date. Our total operating expenses are $111,000 above budget and $164,000 below prior year to date. Most of the current year variance is related to transportation related costs. As we've all experienced, fuel increased incredibly and well beyond the budget we had anticipated. Fundraising and grants are running $76,000 ahead of budget and $1.03 million ahead of prior year to date. Our change in total net assets is running $73,000 above budget, but showing $929,000 behind last year. Corrective actions were taken in November to address the shortfall in enrollment, and they've had the desired results with us being above budget as we finish the year ahead of budget. Are there any questions on the revenue expenditures trend report? Okay, I'll move on to page 2, which is the balance sheets. Cash on the balance sheet date was $762,000 higher than it was a year ago at year end. Cash balance was $5.081 million. Our total current assets are $254,000 higher than a year ago, mostly related to the grant funds receivable. Total assets are $142,000 lower than a year ago, mostly related to a flattish year combined with another year of non-cash depreciation expense. Intercompany payables are $283,000 higher than a year ago. Total liabilities are $220,000 lower than a year ago, and our total net assets have increased $78,000 over a year ago at this time, essentially our change in net assets from our P&L. Are there questions related to the balance sheet? Okay, the last page is the ratio analysis that we've been looking at for a year and a half now, and I'll run through them. The change in net assets margin has declined greatly year over year. This is due to the $930,000 less net income versus last year. We're on threshold of 0%, so while this isn't a great number, we're still doing okay. Our aggregated net margin declined slightly over the prior reporting period, now at 4.32% versus 4.67%. We're above the 0% trigger, so we're still doing okay. Days of cash on hand is 94 days versus 65 days last year. This is a good trend. Cash flow from operations was a negative 17%, down from a positive 4.2% last year. It's below zero and not good. However, if you combine in the grant revenues, as we did speak about earlier, we are above that number, and so it should be fine in terms of review by the DC board. Our current ratio is 4.9 versus 5.0 last year. It's a nominal change, and we're well above the zero threshold. Our debt ratio decreased from 0.66 to 0.56, and is a slight negative trend, but between 0.5 and 0.9 is good, so we're good. Our primary reserve ratio increased from 0.307 to 0.319, and it's well above the 0.25. and moving in the right direction. Our program service revenue expense ratio was flat year to year at 96%, and that's a good number. Anything over 90 is really a good number. Our defensive ratio increased from 4.24 to 4, and a good trend. And our liquidity ratio increased from 0.87 to 0.98. Again, a good trend. So all in all, in a challenging year, we came out ahead of budget and numbers look good moving into the next year. Are there any questions related to the ratio analysis? Okay, next on the agenda, we had proposed to present the budget for review and approval. However, there are a couple last minute tweaks that we decided we're thinking better of, and things will be even better. So we are going to wait to present that budget until we're finished with the tweaks. We are hard at work on that. And with that, I will introduce our new CFO, Chris Zimmerman. Chris started with this board, and here he is again. I'll let Chris introduce himself. So thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, Charlie. I think for those of you who are on kind of at the start, and as Charlie mentioned, I was actually an inaugural board member of the DC Charter School. It was back in fall 2014. So it's fun to sort of be home again. To give you the non-exhaustive version of my background on how I'm sitting here today. It was from DC Charter School Board to Children's Guild Board to board chair of Children's Guild, and then back in decided to make myself an employee of the Children's Guild, but filling some very large shoes that Charlie is exiting, but not letting Charlie run terribly far away. So Charlie will still be at the Guild. He's going to be concentrating on all things revenue for us as we kind of take some sets of responsibility and kind of shuffle them around. But you'll be used to seeing my bright and smiling face on calls here moving forward. I spent a whole bunch of time in consulting earlier in my career and just wrapped up 5 years at a tech company here in DC called Diligent, which specializes in board director governance and leadership and collaboration software. So very excited to be at the Guild, not with my board hat on anymore, but with my executive hat on, and looking forward to working with all of you. And for those of you on this board who I have in fact worked quite a bit with to date, looking forward to having a slightly different lens on that relationship going forward. But excited to be here. And I would also be remiss if I did not acknowledge the great work, in addition to Charlie, by Kathy and excuse me, Brian, at our DC school. Happy to be in the saddle with all of them. Questions from anybody? Just as we get rolling here. I don't want to take up too much of your precious Monday night time here.
Welcome back, ZZ.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can't
Ditto.
get rid of me.
Ditto. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. If there aren't any more questions for Mr. Zimmerman, I'm sure we'll have other opportunities to talk with him, but we will move on to the next item on our agenda here, which is the conflict of interest forms. I'm not exactly sure how many we have that are still outstanding, but we definitely need to get those in so that we are adhering to the DC regulations. I guess, I don't know if Kathy or Crystal would speak more on that.
Well, no, it's a annual requirement that all board members sign this conflict of interest form. It is posted in chat at 6:16. But if I understand correctly from Susan, that there's a DocuSign that's gone out, that it needs to be signed on DocuSign just for tracking purposes. But for those who want to just take a look at it, ask any questions you may have. And Susan, you want to clarify when and the DocuSign was sent out?
It was sent out, I think, a week or two ago. So far I have Rob, Yolanda, and Angelo's. And so what I'll do is go ahead and resend the DocuSign so that those who still need it can take a look at that and get it back then.
Thank you, Susan.
All right.
Yeah, as Ms. Lane said, I mean, this is something that we got to do annually. We also have to do it for DC government, for everybody who's holding one of those positions. It does not take that long to complete. So you can kind of zip through, especially if you have not had any major changes from last year. Just go ahead and get that completed and get back to Susan, please. The next item on our agenda will be the principal's report from Mr. Daniels. The floor is yours, sir.
So we're gonna start our floor with Mr. Medley today. He is gonna run point on the principal's report.
Good evening, everyone. So the title of our report is TCDDC Designing Excellence, which will be our overlapping theme throughout the school year. We have another theme that we have embedded in with that as well. So our instructional theme this year is going to be enhancing our vision to gain sight. And this picture really encompasses what we really will focus on this year, because we really can't correct what we cannot detect. And so we're really going to be focusing on that this year. Our culture focus this year is going to be on excellence, and it's going to be twofold. One, we're going to work with hospitality. We had a great leadership retreat, and one of the components that we talked about was how do we brand ourselves like some of the companies you see here, like a Starbucks or a Chanel or a McDonald's or FedEx. So we're going to be working really diligently this year to focus on hospitality, not only within the building, but with also our students and our parents, our entire community. And for our students, we're going to focus on pride. We are the Panthers, and so this paw print will serve as a metaphor for our students to remain positive, responsible, show integrity, show drive, and that should say empathy, not impact. Our instructional focus for this year, we're going to really hone in on two areas. We're going to continue to focus with small group instruction. We'll be year 2 with guided reading and first year for guided math. And as for everyone, science and specials, we noticed last year that teachers were not asking enough higher order thinking questions. And so we're going to really be intentional with effective questioning this year. We have a couple of new initiatives that we're really excited to share. One is with our teacher leadership development and just teacher development as a whole. So this year for PDs, we have created a cohort of PLC leads, which we have identified as content area experts in our school. These individuals participated in a summer institute that I facilitated for them, which basically I'm starting with like a leadership 101, and we focus the first couple of days just with building trust within their cohorts. We will have this ongoing PD throughout the year, and the goal is for these PLC leads to finish with a certain degree of expertise to move further in our school, and then we would start a new cohort next year of teachers to put them through this program that we have embedded in our school. And the PLCs were created based on the needs of teachers. So we have a SPED PD, a PLC. We have certain teachers who are in math PLCs, certain teachers that are in a writing PLC, and we basically looked at the data we've collected from our walkthroughs, our evaluations to determine where teachers would benefit. And we also solicited teacher input with helping to decide their professional growth as well. We are shying away from iReady for our universal screener. We had a chance to speak with teachers at the end of the year, and here are some of the responses that we got when we talked about the effectiveness of iReady. So some teachers said some answers were inaccurate actually in the actual program. Some teachers said that students were not motivated. Some teachers said explanations were very boring. And the overarching complaint that we got from iReady was that it did not offer any specific information about what our kids can and can't do. and the instructional steps were kind of vague. And so as a leadership team, we went to the table and we researched some other screeners, and we decided to go with Map Growth. We had a representative from Map do a presentation, and we gathered some ahas. So how it's different from iReady is that with the reports are very targeted reports that target what students can and can't do specifically. When we compared it with iReady, it was just kind of like, oh, all of the students who were in red, these were kind of like the 3 or 4 generic interventions for students. And we kind of felt like it just wasn't intentional enough. With Map Growth, it actually defines for us what students can and can't do, and the goals are very specific to the students. As I said before, it provides individualized skill reports for teachers, so that will definitely help with our data meetings and data planning. It is used by more than 9 million students. It is adaptive, which is like iReady, which basically means that students would get a question. If they get it correct, the computer automatically makes the questions a little more difficult. If the student were to answer the question incorrectly, it kind of lowers the rigor of the questions. And unlike iReady, the students who are above can continue to test above. So if you are if a student is in 5th grade and is reading on a 7th grade reading level, it will continue to generate those questions to push students to their optimal ability. What we found very fascinating with Map Growth is that each student receives a RIT score, and this RIT score is some type of algorithm, and it can track the growth over a year. So, for example, we start this year in 2022, and 2025, this RIT score, as a school, we'll be able to track collectively how students have done over 3 years. And this RIT score allows parents to input into this program for students to explore colleges. So there is some special algorithm, like I said, that's used that will determine which colleges are best for the students based upon their results from the Map Growth. We thought that was very fascinating. We recall from one of the board meetings a couple last year sometime, and someone asked about how the iReady data is tracked kind of universally or domestically, or or throughout DC or even throughout the United States. And iReady did not provide that information for us. What's unique about Map Growth is that they have this normative data that they supply every 3 years, and it contains anonymous data, and it shows how our students compare sort of like globally in the US, giving our students a top, middle, and bottom score. And another plus that it has is that it also offers an early literacy screener that encompasses what we've been pushing for the past year in our K-2 classes. Any questions with that before I turn it over to Dr. Jackson, who will talk a little bit about ESY?
Yeah, how long have we been using iReady?
Since we opened in 2015.
Okay.
So along with the informational shift, it's kind of been on our radar really over the past 2 years as to looking at changing our screening because it's kind of becoming an overutilized tool that we've had in our school for a long time now. So we were really going to do it 2 years ago, of course, but then the pandemic hit, and it was way too much to make a shift while kids were not in the building. So now we've kind of reached a good time, and having the conversation with Map has allowed us to make the transition. Now we know that we will have to make a request to amend the charter, because the iReady is written into our charter, but it's something that should be very relatively easy for us to do, just to make a simple amendment to the tool. But the goals itself will remain the same. It'll just be a different tool that will provide the data and documentation. Excuse me.
And we will continue to use iReady as an intervention within our guided reading and our guided math groups. It'll just be a blended learning station. So we will continue to use it just as an intervention. Any additional questions? Okay, Dr. Jackson, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Medley. So I am here to talk about our extended summer school or extended school year program for our students who receive special education services. ESY, for those of you who may not be familiar, is that it is an extension of the school year. So our students have an opportunity to work on their goals in all areas to include related services. So our related service providers are here to provide for our students as well. We were super excited about this year. We were able to have our students re-engage in the building and provide field trips. So we wanted our children to have the experience of taking real life application of what they've learned into the community. So we were able to take 4 field trips this year. And we were able to visit the American History Museum. We did the Youth Garden, the Botanical Garden, and our last field trip of the year was to the National Zoo. So our students had a wonderful time. Our ESY program is 4 weeks long. So we started on June the 27th and we ended July the 21st. Typically it is Monday through Fridays. Gives our students an opportunity to really hone in on the academic skills that they've been working on to prepare them for the next academic school year. Any questions for me regarding ESY? Thank you. Mr. Manley, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks. So in addition to ESY, we had another program that ran concurrently in our building. It was a summer enrichment program for which we wrote a grant and received the complete funding from OSSE. There were a lot of parents who really expressed an interest in sending their students to some type of summer enrichment program for summer learning and lost learning. And so the focus of the 5-week program was on literacy and math. And we were given an opportunity to pilot a new math program that we're using this year called Zern. Again, we applied for that grant. We received all of the books, all of the online platforms, zero cost to us. We had 20 days of instruction and we had 2 days of testing. One of the requirements was that OSSE wanted us to test the students at the beginning of the summer and at the end of the summer. And we have to send in a report next week of that data. And then when we do our beginning of the year or our BOY testing, they want to compare how students perform at the BOY or at the beginning of the year who were part of our summer program compared to those students who did not participate to take a look to see the benefits of the program. So we're really excited to share that data with them. And we had 2 field experiences. The last experience we had was just a fun trip to the swimming pool, Langdon Park, and students really had a great time. Just a great way to end the school year and to end the summer enrichment program. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Daniels, I think it's your turn.
All right, well, this is just a quick overview of the our organizational chart for this upcoming school year. Last school year we ran a 2 assistant principal model, and this year we are going to a 1 AP model. One, given the just the sheer size of the school, and 2, this is giving our building a much more targeted leadership approach. So there's not as many people that staff members have to go to in terms of being able to receive support, receive guidance and supervision. So all of the gen ed teachers will now be reporting directly to Mr. Medley, kindergarten through 8th grade. All of our special education teachers, whether it be self-contained or push out and push in teachers, will be reporting to Dr. Jackson. All of our teaching assistants who provide support to all of our teachers will be reporting to Ms. Carter as the Director of School Operations. So she does manage, you know, a lot of the data that comes into the building and also that goes out of the building. But Ms. Carter is also one of our proficient teachers and educators and leaders in training. And so allowing her the opportunity to provide leadership in the realm back inside of the classroom and to support teachers who are really learning how to become teachers is going to be a great use of her time and her skill set to make sure, again, that we are growing a good cohort of new young leaders to be able to come in and take the places of some of these teachers that are going to be kind of transitioning out to become, you know, to become coaches, to become assistant principals and deans and things of that nature, so we can create, again, this level of synergy inside of our own school building so that we can promote within, as opposed to having to go outside of the organization to find new staff members to backfill positions. Next slide. So Mr. Medley kind of referred to the leadership retreat that we had the fortune of going on just a week ago. Spending a couple of days together as a team really allowed us the opportunity to not just connect and to plan, but it really gave us the opportunity to learn a lot more about each other, a lot more about our character, a lot more about our wants, our needs as individual leaders, and it creates a really strong platform of trust and understanding around who it is that we are as a leadership team and where it is that we want to go as we develop this level of excellence that we are looking to do with our staff and with our students for the upcoming school year. Next slide. So as we work through all of the activities, we really started to focus around just how we are as a unit, and we are always stronger as a team. We're always stronger as a unit, and you'll see a lot of these and hear a lot more of these mottos, and you'll also see and hear a lot of acronyms that come through. The stronger the power, the stronger the tower is one that we found on day one of our leadership journey, and it really stuck and resonated with everyone. As you can see, I'm sitting here staring on, trying to figure out what it is that we're going to do as a team. But by the time we finished, there was this wonderful tower that was on the table, and it really allowed us to see that what we could do as a group, because in this activity, we couldn't speak to one another. We really had to kind of figure it out non-verbally. And so we were able to see the dynamics of the group, and it really spoke to who we are as a team to be able to construct this wonderful tower that allowed us to, again, help us to build a stronger foundation as we are looking to move forward into this year of excellence. Next slide. And so again, just some other pictures. And so this is another one of my visions around, through collaboration, we are able to gain strategy. Through strategies, we're able to construct a plan. This activity really allowed us to build trust for one another. And with all of these attributes will allow us to be able to display and to grow excellence inside of our building from an adult standpoint, and also from a student-based standpoint. Excellence is going to be the foundation of everything that we do this year as a school, as a team, and as an organization. And we're really looking forward to building that with our staff as they are now back to work in their 2 weeks of orientation before our students get back on the 22nd. Next slide. So we do have a couple of projects that we are working on. You'll hear us talk a little bit later about some of the partnerships that we are looking to do with the community in terms of getting pre-K3 and pre-K4 programs into our building, and the work that we're doing around that. We're also looking to change the exterior of our building and to figure out what's the best way for us to be able to put a stamp on the side of our building, so that, again, we are not just, decorating and utilizing the inside of our building to capture and to keep the minds of our kids engaged, but we're also doing it from the exterior of the building, because this ends up being just a stand in place billboard of, being able to market ourselves, because there are people that ride up and down Bladensburg Road and ride up and down 24th Place and still don't know that it's a school. And so we have to make some changes to the exterior of the building to again help to gain awareness and utilize the space that we have to use as more of a marketing tool and to bring some more question and excitement into our school building. So these are 3 of the options, and we're also waiting on a last invoice and design idea from this other young man by the name of Khalik, and that's his website. And we're looking to meet with him by the end of this week, so we can make a determination on which way we're going to go with the design of the building. Sorry, Mr. Miller, I started to ramble on. You can go to the next slide. And so again, around community engagement, this is a continued goal from our SIP from last school year, that we are going to really make sure that we nail down and we put an emphasis on with our time and our planning this school year. It was brought to our attention in the midst of our accreditation process that there were some of our parents that really feel connected, and there's some of our parents that would like to feel even more connected. So we're gonna make sure that we get this PTO off of the ground this year, and we make sure that we create levels of communication and regular communication with our parents to allow them to know what it is that we're doing inside of the school building throughout the course of the year, not just when there's something that's going on. They want to get more information on a regular basis. We're going to have more activities that are happening inside of the school building, not just for kids, but also for parents. Dr. Jackson and I have been talking about creating this parent university for years, and this is going to be the year that we make sure that this happens, whether it happens in the evening, whether it happens on the weekend. Our parents just need resources and better ways to bridge that gap. And to have a better understanding of how it is they can do a lot of the things that we're doing at school, at home with their kids, and we'll be able to do that with the parent university. And we'll also be reaching out to you all as a board, again, to possibly partner and to bring your excellence to the table to help support our families in this community engagement process. Is that the last one? And with this last slide, I would also like to also remind you all that we are in the building in the beginning stages of starting a new school year, and we are our students and our families are always in need of support, whether it be school supplies, whether it be school uniforms, food and donations added to the school pantry and things of that nature. So we are always open and ready for support. Thanks, Rob, for sending out your support. I know we sent out an email maybe a week ago, and you responded immediately and sent out a level of support that we totally appreciate. But there's always room for more. For some reason, I don't know why uniforms are getting so difficult for parents to be able to get their hands on, but it's something that is just hard for them to be able to do. So that's always a way for us to be able to support and connect with our families. So if you are in a position to support, please reach out. We are always willing and I shared this this PowerPoint with Crystal. So Crystal, if you could share it with the rest of the board, just so they can have the data and the information that we shared, that would be awesome. Are there any questions for us? Thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, actually, two things. So in the tower exercise that you participated, you look like you were kind of just chilling. What did you contribute to that one?
So I just because I don't like to toot my own horn, but the tower project was struggling for a while, and being who I am, I just kind of sat back and observed the papers that were falling, and kind of made a determination on my own, because again, it's one of my goals from my supervisor is that sometimes I have a tendency to step in and to fix things, as opposed to letting people struggle through and to kind of figure things out on their own. And so as I sat back and again watched the papers kind of fall down over and over again, and Mr. Medley circling around because this is his activity, his event, like, are they going to figure out? I simply I folded a piece of paper in half and sat it on the table, folded another piece of paper in half, and from just that one model, the rest of the team saw what I saw, and I didn't touch the tower the rest of the time. And in the next 3 minutes, there was a tower that was about 36 inches off of the table that, again, I gave a little piece to the puzzle. They figured the rest of the puzzle out and made a wonderful tower for us to be able to build upon.
Sure. And then just really quick, I know you said you're going to send out the PowerPoint. I think there's a slide in there we need to kind of make sure we clean up or edit. It was basically the slide where everybody's kind of like, hugged up in front of some kind of backdrop. I just want to make sure everything we send out is pretty clean, just all the time. So just kind of double check that. I'm sure it is not an issue, but it just maybe the angle that we caught something on there just kind of looked kind of funny, and for lack of other words. But everything else was good. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions for Mr. Daniel? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. We'll move to the next item on our agenda, which is the board membership. We have 2 people that we are interested in bringing on board, Ms. Jessica Rios and Mr. Mark Lerner. Has everyone had a chance to review their resumes? And actually, for this part, I guess I want to make sure I turn it over to the governance committee to kind of speak on and give us an update. I know I was supposed to catch up with Michael a little earlier this week, but our schedules were just a little bit out of whack, so we couldn't really touch base prior to this meeting. But I just want to let the governance committee kind of talk on this particular bullet point. Michael.
Yeah, sure. So Robert, just to be clear, these are 2 very strong candidates, and I reached out a couple of times to Jessica and have not had any luck hearing back from her. So I don't know whether you've had a chance to speak with her or not. Certainly, as you guys can see, her resume is very strong, as is Mark Lerner's, who's had a number of experiences working with various charter schools in the city, Cesar Chavez being one, DC Latin being another, and I think there's a third. Long career in nuclear medicine and radiology, and has a current blog and has had a blog for some time on charter schools. So both are very strong candidates. And Robert, I don't know if we're at a point where you feel like we would like to make a recommendation to the board and get approval to move forward with these people, or do you feel like we've got another step first?
I think we're at a point where we can do the recommendation. I can tell you that I do talk to Jess probably at least once a week, just because we're in the same running group. And she's been definitely, following up with me, trying to find out what the next steps were. And I told her, someone would be reaching out to her because I knew you were out of town on vacation for a chunk of time at the beginning of in July at least. So she is waiting. I'll follow up to find out what the issue was. Was it? Were you calling her or emailing her?
I was
Or
emailing.
both? Email. Okay. So I'll definitely follow up to make sure that she does not miss any communication attempts.
Okay. So then, given that, then on behalf of the governance committee, and we would like to recommend to the board to approve Jessica Rios and Mark Lerner as new board members. That's in the form of a motion.
I'll motion that we approve the recommendation. Need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cassandra. So having so motioned and seconded, all those in favor of approving the recommendation, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
And then all those opposed. Having not heard any opposition, the two new members will be welcomed onto the board. Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
And then also within this bullet point, we just kind of want to get an update on the education board partners. If everybody recalls, we have contracted to work with them to help us find additional board members and do a board search to help us improve our board actually. So they actually sent out a survey, which I participated in, but they're also looking for every board member to participate in that survey. I think at the time, the last time I saw it, it was 8 board members that still hadn't responded. So if you can please take a couple of minutes to respond to that survey, if you have not already, that would be appreciated. But then other than that, Michael, I don't know if you have any other updates from EBP.
No, there's no further update, although I don't know whether you want to wait until we get to the committee reports, but the approval of Jess and Mark bring us to 11 board members. So I guess one thing, I don't know if you want us to talk about it here, Robert, or whether you want to wait a little bit and further into the agenda, but I think it would be good to get some feedback from the board in terms of how many board members we think we would like. Part of what would drive some of that conversation is that we have struggled to have to build out a board, a committee structure, and we've had difficulty getting people interested in taking on officer positions of the board. Now that might speak to having a few more board members to expand people's interest in terms of being able to fill these spots that, from my perspective, would be very important for the board to function at a very high level. So just I'd open it up to the board to have a conversation around this.
Yeah, let's bring it up in your committee report.
Okay.
I think, and also I'm curious to see what EVP is gonna also recommend, because I do believe having more members would definitely help what we're trying to do, but I guess maybe the strategy, working with them to figure out what the best strategy is to achieve that.
Follow up on that, Robert.
Okay. That stated, before we get to I guess the committee reports, we're gonna get a facility update from Mr. Daniels on our 2 issues there, the roof and the preschool partnership. Mr. Daniels.
So when it comes to the roof, the building owner has sent in a team of workers, and they have over the course of the past week have put some reinforcements and raised the gutters around the roof, which kind of was a space that created standing water on our roof. So it's now raised, so it will run directly into the drain itself. I'm not exactly sure how much other patchwork has been done on the roof, because I don't go up there too often. It's hot up on that thing. But they have been working on the roof over the past 2 weeks, and I can report that. And when it comes to the preschool partnerships, we are now back to the table with ARE and having discussions with their new leadership that has turned over, and they are extremely interested in bringing us an MOU, and even potentially starting sooner than later. We would not be able to start the pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 partnership until the 23-24 school year, just because it'll take that amount of time to make any adjustments to the building that we need to make, and also potentially build out the playground space behind the school building that's going to be necessary for us to have in operation in order to run a program with that, an early childhood program such as that. But they are looking to potentially partner this school year to add a before and after school program that we will be able to house and use as a resource for our current families and students. That would be run by ARE. The program also provides a level of care and service that will also run over extended holiday breaks, such as the Thanksgiving break, the Christmas holiday, spring break, that will give parents an opportunity for kids to be able to still come into the school building, specifically those ones that need the structure and the support, because ARE, very similar to the Children's Guild, is an organization that's based from out of special education. A lot of their kids are on the autism spectrum, and they actually service kids in their before and after care program upwards, of kids that are upwards of 21 that still have, extreme developmental and social delays. So it looks like it's going to be a great fit, and we're also still at the meeting table with what's the name of the company, Kathy?
Apple Tree.
Apple Tree, and we had a great conversation with that team as well. So we may be in a situation, well, we're going to be in a situation where we haven't been before, where we'll have to make a decision as to which one of the companies are we going to partner with, or we may be able to come up with a way to run just supplemental programs using both of them as community partners. And we'll just have to see which is going to work out best for us, because they both have different types of programs that we will be able to utilize. One being housed in our building, one that we would be able to utilize in some of their spaces. So we'll have to weigh all of our options, but it's good to have options and good to have these two programs as potential partners, because they are cornerstones of early childhood education in the District of Columbia.
Is it possible for us to get, I guess, maybe the comparison of the two, sent out to the board so we can kind of take a look at it ourselves as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, just as a quick and dirty Apple Tree is more like your big box. It's the one that everybody knows about. It's all over the District of Columbia. So that would be your Home Depot or your Lowe's, and then you have the regular, the corner general store that sells all of the same products, and it's that one-stop shop. ARE is a lot smaller than Apple Tree is, and they're not as where Apple Tree writes their own curriculum. They have a multiple tiered program that runs not just for toddlers and pre-K students, but they actually run programs that go all the way up through early childhood through second or third grade. where, you know, ARE kind of stops around that preschool age level, but we can get those, you know, the comparison of the two programs kind of typed up and laid out in a way that makes sense for you to be able to look at and assess as a board.
In addition to Brian's overview of the two programs, we'll be running a parallel process whereby we have to apply for an amendment to DC Charter Board in order to have Apple Tree part of our school program and potentially ARE. So some of it is going to be driven honestly by what DC Charter Board is willing to support. So we wanted to get ARE in this year to start generating our youngest learners, having access to our educational model and potentially joining us in kindergarten. Because it will take us the entire upcoming school year, most of it before we get any approval by the DC Charter Board in order to offer preschool within the funding model of the Charter Board.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Ms. Lane. Thank you for that, Mr. Daniels. With that, we will go to the marketing and branding window with Mr. Turner and his report.
Good evening, everyone. So in regards to census build, we are currently at 145 registered students, 58 of those students new, and 87 of those students returning. And I will share my screen. Somebody please help me with a share. I haven't used Zoom in so long.
Right on the bottom, Brandon, there's a green box by the chat and
Let me go to full screen. Okay, I see it now. All right. Sorry about that. So we had
Teams got you brainwashed, huh?
What's that?
The team got you brainwashed, huh?
Brainwashed. So yeah, so we're at 145 registered students. 58 of those students are new, 87 returning. Right now, our main focus is on getting those returning students to register. The good news is we get notification that there's a student that's still in DC that goes to another school. So many of the students that qualify to return to DC, we still haven't received a lot of those notifications, only 2 or 3. So it's still a pool of about 80 students for us to be able to recruit to get to register for this upcoming school year. So for new students, we're in striking distance, and for returning families and anybody that has been at DC school before, we know that this is a challenge going into each year. Just getting returning families to simply pick up the phone and register. Many of them think they're registered. And if you're not familiar with DC's regulations in regards to registration, every student, both new and returning, have to register each year. So it's always a challenge getting returning families to register, but we're definitely making some pushes there. Since our last board meeting, we hosted our football camp. We had real good registrations. We had some real good promotion leading up to the event. We had a few posts that I guess you can say went viral. We had about 22,000 views that weekend. A lot of the people that registered said they found out about the camp from the post, and but we got hit with a flash flood warning. It literally flooded that day in the entire city of DC and Baltimore, but we were fortunate to be in a place in DC where we didn't get any rain. So we were thankful for that. And the students that did come out, they were able to, be able to participate in the camp, and they, got basically one-on-one treatment from guys that coaching college guys that play in college and an NFL player. And one thing I want to do tonight, a little activity. If I can pull it up. No, I gotta share my audio, so I'm gonna stop share for a second. So somebody mentioned earlier about marketing our school in the likes of other major companies, and what would that take? First and foremost, I think that person that gets us there is Brian. If it wasn't education, I think he'll be in acting. So the first video I want to show, video that we recorded leading up to the camp.
Here we go. End of the school year. ESY starting soon. But the rest of the kids, they don't have camp. They're not coming to school. Who can I get to help me put together an idea? I got it. Let me ring them up.
The audio's a little low.
Let me get him on.
Audio low. Let me see if I can get it.
Yo, B, what's good?
What's up, Brian?
Unfortunately, this might be the highest to
Here,
go.
man. Hey, just checking in. You got some time to someone to come down?
Yeah, what you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking Berry Farms Rec, a football camp for kindergarten through 8th graders. What you think?
No, that's a bet. I can hit my guys up and just see who all is available around that time.
That's a good look. I'll find a date. I'll find a time. I'll let you know, and we'll get it done.
Say no more.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, so that was one of the videos that we created leading up into the camp. And today we posted the work.
It's not just on this one.
From the camp. Hopefully the audio is a little bit louder. But this is Brian speaking to the individuals that came to the camp goers.
This grass. It's not just on this turf. The work has to start in the classroom, y'all. You got to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing from an academic standpoint to be able to showcase your talents on this field. Trust me when I tell you, the work will pay off. The work does matter. You got to put the work in everywhere, not just on the field. When you're in your community, be a stand-up community member. When you're out with your parents, make sure you're doing the right things. You're not just representing yourselves, you're representing your families, your parents, and the places that you come from. Work wherever you go. Don't just work inside of the lines of this field. Work everywhere in your life.
I gotta elevate. I've been praying to God for a better.
So this video is up right now. I posted it right before this meeting because what I wanted everyone to do that has Instagram, I would like for them to go to TCG_DC, and I would like for them to like, comment, share, and favorite this post. So the algorithm for getting views, quote unquote, going viral, like is cut and dry. Like you can go to Instagram right now and they'll tell you how to get more engagement on social media. So I want everybody that has an Instagram account, it's going to help this video get more views. And if you're in the DC area, then it's going to help get more likes, shares, and views in the area that you're in. All right. So if you're not following TCG DC's Instagram, make sure you give them a follow. And again, for this particular post, like, share, comment, and favorite. All right, because this is a post, like we see it every day. It's under a minute long. Brian is saying some pretty powerful things. It's got a sound to it that's already viral. So it has all the tools to get the type of engagement that obviously the school needs to get more awareness for what we're doing at the school. All right, so again, if you have social media, if you have Instagram, make sure that you go to the page, like, share, comment, and favorite as well. The favorite is this little ribbon that's right to the right of the comment box. Hey, upcoming dates, we have a back to school event on the 20th. As always, we would love for you all to come out and participate. We're excited about that. That's something that we're pushing because each year leading up into the school year, that back to school event is something that we can use to really get families back registered for the school year. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Turner. It's excellent on the videos and posting and keeping us, I guess, out there on the social media. That's excellent. Good stuff. All right, so we'll go to our next bullet point here. Oh, and I see that Kelly has posted the support link again for the back to school in the chat. So if you hadn't had a chance to go ahead and click that link to go ahead and offer your support, if you can, of course, please do so. So the next bullet point is we're going to be talking the committee reports, and we will start off with Michael again.
Yes, thank you, Robert. So I'll just circle back to where we left off and really open the floor for conversations and thoughts around additional board members.
So the first thing, I was going to say, the first thing I'd say is that do people have any other potential members that they, want to recommend? Especially if you feel like you work very well with them in your committee.
Mr. Seabrooks, if I could add, I spoke to Corey Griffin today, who's our lobbyist for the Children's Guild, about recruiting potential board members. He came up with 2 real quickly, and he was going to connect with them and then send forward their resumes, and I'll share with the governance committee. And he expected that he was likely to have some other candidates as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that, Kathy.
Sure.
Also, I guess this has been a repeated request or offer. So for any board member that's interested, and Cassandra, welcome. And to the extent you have any interest in serving on any committee or to serve in an officer's position, would be happy to talk with you about your interest and where you might plug in.
Absolutely. I'm sitting listening to, everything that's being presented here, and really want to review, the structure. And, I think that the conversation around the number of board members is important, not to saturate individual board members with committee work, but to make sure that you have enough people. But I'm definitely interested in serving on a committee. I just want to, wherever I'm needed.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts or comments around board size?
I don't know what's needed in regards to board members. I did recommend someone to Jenny. He is a financial advisor, pretty successful financial advisor in the DMV area. But his background is in education. He spent, I think, 12 years as a principal in Georgia, South Carolina, I'm sorry. And like I said, I sent this information to Jenny, but he lives in DC, so it may be a better fit for DC. So I don't know what that process looks like, but I'll share the information.
Yeah, if you could send it to me and Robert, that would be great, and Angelo as well.
I guess I would need email information. Would I get that from Susan?
Yes.
Yeah, Brian, you can get it from Susan or Crystal.
Thank you.
You just
Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, if not, thank you. Robert, anything else you want to touch on here?
Not too much. And we're going to be chatting after the meeting, since we didn't have a chance to talk earlier. So anything that I have on that, I'll just tell you a little bit later on.
That sounds good.
The next committee we'd like to hear from, I don't know if she's in here, but Ms. Lucene.
I am here.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Here we go.
I will say, welcome, Cassandra. And if you're looking for a committee, I'm a committee of one, so we need you on this committee, absolutely. But I did have a chance to meet with Lisa, Carrie, and Catrice last week, just to get some feedback on or requests for things to provide support. And I think I had already shared that there was a request for board members to be interviewed, and that request is still there. So I get the next step would be for board members who are interested in being interviewed, if we can develop a list, and they will reach out and provide any prep for the interview to be recorded. And also there was a request, and I'm not sure if I shared this before, for any board members who are on social media, if you could follow TGC social media and not just like posts, but provide some type of narrative or feedback on why you feel what you're sharing is important. And one of the other things that we discussed, and Brian, you were speaking about when we were talking about the pre-K expansion, they shared that they are working on a pre-K expansion article. And I guess my question is where the process is right now, is that something that, is it at the point where something could be shared in an article? And also that the deadline is Wednesday for this article. So if in the event that they can share any of that information, reaching out to them so that information about the DC site and potential pre-K expansion, that they could include that in the article that they are writing. And also, they also shared information, and I'll put the link in the chat, about a blog article that included information about the blogger had a visit at the school, and it was I did read it, just a very positive visit and how it impacted the author. So I will share that link as well if anyone wants to follow up on that. And I'm going through all of my notes because we had a really productive meeting. And I think someone had already shared the request to donate and drop off supplies for the back to school drive. And they said it would be used to stuff 300 backpacks. So there was that request as well. I think that's everything. And they talked about with enrollment that they're the ongoing radio ads and ads through email that they're using to support recruitment for increasing enrollment. I think that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Lucene. I actually did get some supplies from Ms. Thomas, who lives in my neighborhood. So I'm gonna be dropping those at the school sometime this week, Mr. Daniels, just to let you know. And speaking of Ms. Thomas, I know that she is no longer on the board. She had to relieve herself of that duty as she's had other challenges that have come up. And so we will be looking for a chair of the PIAC committee to talk to the governance committee. So if you're interested in that, that opportunity is there. I don't know if we have anybody from the PIAC committee on now that can speak to the last meeting that they had. And I don't have any minutes from that meeting from her. But yeah, so I'll say right now, we definitely need to have somebody take that role, because that also helps us with recruiting to show that we have a strong parent engagement team, and all the things that accompany that kind of, I guess, that work in that committee is definitely needed to help us reach our goals of getting in the new students in and the other goals that we have set forth for the school. So we'll table that for now.
And we're also gonna, that just kind of jogged my memory. Frank, Dr. Jackson, we are gonna need to also start to look for new parent board members. One, Cleo's still here, but technically Cleo's babies are gone, so she's no longer like a parent anymore. So we're gonna Go ahead and turn your camera back off, facey monster. But we are gonna have to, I missed you. We are gonna have to get ourselves some new, but again, that's gonna go right along the lines with the PTO that we're gonna get started, and we'll have to get some more investment for some of our active parents. And we do have a couple that have been that are always around, so we'll make sure that we get them in touch with the who should we refer parent board members to, Kathy? Would they come to the board, or how would we? So
Yes.
refer them to Rob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the governance committee, to be on the board, so
Michael, okay,
both of us.
got it.
All right, thank you again, Mr. Daniels, for bringing that up. And the next order of business, of course, is other business. Is there any other items, issues, concerns from the board that people would like to bring up now that hadn't had a chance to bring up earlier? You know, this board is open. We definitely want to hear any and all opinions to help us move forward. Any ideas that you think you want to kind of drop into this discussion and see some action upon?
No, nothing I wanted to add. I just wanted to get clarification for board members who are interested in being interviewed. What is the process going to be? Who's going to collect the names? Should I have people email me and I forward the names, or what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, ultimately, they have to get to Michael and the governance committee for their review, and then they will reach out and do the interview process once they have gone through those.
Oh, no, this is for current board members who want to be to have a video interview. Yes.
Okay, yeah, so just I guess reach out.
I'm just trying to think of the best way to do it so that I make sure that those that are interested, they'll know what the process is. And
sure, is there a way?
The names, I can do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a way that we can have like Susan or Crystal or somebody send something out to all the board members for us to sign up on? Is that the issue of the challenge that we're trying to solve?
Yeah, just trying to make it so that it is one email and everything is collected at one time, so it doesn't get confusing for people.
Gotcha. So that should come from our administrative team. So whatever it is, that the exact language that you want, I would work with them to get that language into an email that can be sent to the board members.
Okay.
And that would be Susan or Crystal.
All right.
Any other issues?
Mr. Seabrooks, I wanted to make a comment about the interviews too, just from the marketing perspective. We would love to hear your whys. Why do you love TCGDC? Why are you invested? Why is this important to you? That's a big part of sharing your story and your passion for TCG. So that's the point of these interviews. And then we can share them clearly on social media. You can share them with your colleagues and your spheres of influence so that the message of the school can go farther and reach a broader community. So that's the point and kind of the idea behind them. So they're not scary. We won't, won't put you on the spot, but we would love to just hear your feedback. And, maybe you visited a school and something really impressed you. What is that story that you tell your colleagues or your family members when you talk about the school? That would be super helpful. And we'd love to do a short interview with you to go over those items.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right. Having not heard any other news, we are going to move to adjourn the August 8th meeting of the Children's Guild Public Charter School DC. at 7:26 p.m. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for making the quorum. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Hope you feel better, Bri.
Thanks, Kat.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.